Hello everyone, this is Professor Revraj Kulkarni, Department of Chemistry, KLS Gokte Institute of Technology, Belgavi. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the synthesis of nanomaterials and their applications, mainly in the field of water treatment. Let's start with synthesis of nanomaterials. Nanomaterials can be synthesized by two ways. There are two approaches for synthesis of nanomaterials. One is top-down approach, the second one bottom-up approach. Top-down approach involves breaking off the bulk materials into nanomaterials. Right, it is basically a physical approach or mechanical approach where you powder the bulk to nanoparticles. We call this approach as top-down approach. There are many challenges for this approach. Alright, so to give an example, if you take a glass piece and hammer it, powder it, what do you observe? You observe the particles are having different sizes and shapes. So you won't get same size nanoparticles here. And also when you hammer the material, you are introducing the defects, maybe surface defect or interfacial defects, into the nanoparticles or nanomaterials. So other way of preparing nanoparticles is from the bottom approach. From bottom means you join atoms by atoms, and then you form clusters, and then you form nanoparticles. So top-down approach and this is bottom-up approach. Both have advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of top-down approach is you can prepare the nanoparticles in bulk, in large quantities, whereas bottom-up approach you cannot prepare in large quantities, but you get better nanoparticles. You can control the particle size. In bottom approach, you can get the same size nanoparticles. Examples for top-down approach is ball milling technique, lithography, etc. Bottom approach, you have sol gel method, chemical vapor deposition method, inert gas condensation method, etc. Let's start with sol gel method. Before we go to sol gel method, I'll just give you what is sol. Sol is a colloidal suspension of solid particles in a liquid. Gel is a dispersion of liquid in solids. So sol contains more liquid, less solid. Gel contains more solid and less liquid. Okay. So liquid is dispersed here and solid is dispersed in the sol. Okay, the sol gel process is a method of producing nanomaterials from small molecules. The method is used for the fabrication of usually metal oxides, especially titanium oxide and silicon oxide. In continuing with the sol gel method, how it is prepared. Okay, sol gel method involves hydrolysis and condensation of the precursors such as inorganic salts or metal alkoxides. This is metal alkoxide, MOR. It undergoes hydrolysis reaction with water, forming metal hydroxide and alcohol. This is hydrolysis of metal alkoxide. Then condensation and polycondensation leads to sol particles, then into three-dimensional network producing gel material. So if the metal hydroxide, two molecules, they join together to form aqua gel. Why we call it as aqua gel? It's water condensation. Water comes out here. Alcohol condensation, here we call it as alco gel, where we use alcohol as solvent. So ROH, alcohol is produced here. So MOH reacts with MOR, forming alcohol and alcohol is produced. So alcohol condensation we say. So alcohol contains more solid, less alcohol here, and alcohol is dispersed in solids. In case of aqua gel, water is dispersed in the gel. Then we have aging. Okay, then we keep that gel form for for gelation. Okay, further polymerization, polycondensation reaction. So it may happen overnight or it may take 7 days to get gel. Okay, then we have to dry the gel. Either we can go for supercritical drying, where you get air pockets in the gel, so we call it that gel as aerogel. Otherwise we can just keep it as it is. Okay, thermal evaporation takes place at ambient temperatures, so shrinking of pores takes place. Then what you get is zero gel. Zero gel means there is no air pocket. Okay, there are no air pockets here. To give a more clear picture, you can see in the first beaker, this is the first beaker. Right, precursors are added slowly, carefully. Condensation reaction takes place. So what you get is a sole here. This sole can be casted on a glass plate. So what you get is a thin film, or you can draw into fibers, or you can powder them. You can use it as a powder. You leave it for gelation, okay, overnight or up to 7 days. You get gel. Gel on drying, normal drying, that is at room temperature, you get zero gel. Supercritical drying, you get aerogel. You sinter them, you get dense ceramic, or powder them, you get the nano powder. This is the process of sol gel. Okay, sol gel process. Next we go to inert gas condensation technique. Inert gas condensation technique is used to produce metallic nanoparticles. Inert gas condensation technique is used to produce metallic nanoparticles such as iron, cobalt, nickel and all. The process involves vaporization of metals in an evacuated chamber. This is an evacuated chamber. Okay, this is an right here in these crucibles we keep the metals and we heat them in an inert condition. Okay, inert gas. Okay, inert gas is allowed to let in here. So in presence of inert gas, the vapors, the metal is evaporated. So the evaporated metal, okay, is condensed in this cold finger. This is cold finger. Okay, in this we fill liquid nitrogen. We fill liquid nitrogen. Okay. Nucleation takes place on the cold finger. Then particles are collected using a particle collector and a funnel. So it is connected to a vacuum pump. This is vacuum pump. Right. So this is the method of inert gas condensation. The inert gas condensation method is used for the preparation of different metallic nanoparticles such as manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, zinc and molybdenum nanoparticle. It can also be used to prepare metal alloy nanoparticles such as iron nickel or iron copper alloys. Similar to inert gas condensation, we have another technique of producing nanofilms here, chemical vapor deposition technique. Chemical vapor deposition is a chemical process used to produce high purity, high performance nanoparticles. The process is often used in the semiconductor industry to produce thin films. In a typical CVD, the wafer, the substrate is exposed to one or more volatile precursors which react on the substrate surface to produce the desired deposit. And whatever the byproducts formed, they are allowed to escape, okay, through the chamber, reaction chamber. One example of this is production of polycrystalline silicon. Polycrystalline silicon is deposited from silane using this reaction. Silane reacts with, silane decomposes at temperature above the decomposition temperature to produce polycrystalline silicon, and hydrogen gas comes out that escapes through that vacuum pump. If it is anyway, it's connected to vacuum pump, that is removed. Okay, this gives you more clear picture of chemical vapor deposition method. Here carrier gas is used. Okay, usually we use inert gas. Okay, and here we use precursors. Okay, if precursor is volatile, you don't have to heat it. If it is not volatile, then you require heating. So inductive heating or resistive heating is done. So that the carrier gas takes the vapors of precursor molecules to this chamber, CVD chamber. This is CVD chamber. Okay, here other reactants are added here. So the reaction takes place between the precursor and the other reactant, and that is deposited on the substrate. Substrate is kept slightly cold condition. So the deposition takes place, you get a thin film here. Okay, so usually the chamber is heated here. This chamber is very hot. Okay, it's heated chamber, except this substrate. Substrate is cold, so that the deposition takes place on the substrate. For example, silicon nitride is often used in as an insulator and chemical barrier in the manufacture of ICs, integrated circuits. So these two reactions take place. Okay, if you use silane and ammonia as reactant, silane here, okay, it's a precursor, and ammonia you are adding from here. Okay, now the reaction takes place, then that will deposit on the substrate here. Okay, you can use silane or dichlorosilane. Reaction with ammonia gives silicon nitride. So the silicon nitride films can be produced by chemical vapor deposition technique. Okay, now the application part. Nanomaterials are used in many applications such as air purification, water treatment, sensors, storage devices, LEDs, solar cells, etc. So we are mainly interested in water treatment, that too in water and wastewater treatment by photocatalysis. Okay, photocatalysis method. We are not interested in other methods right now. Alright, for your syllabus it is water and wastewater treatment by photocatalysis. Okay. Right, water and wastewater treatment by photocatalysis. The basic principle is to generate OH free radicals. Okay, photocatalysis means advanced oxidation process it is. So we need OH radicals, so which degrade organic or inorganic contaminants present in water. Nanoparticles serve as photocatalysts to generate the free radicals, OH free radicals. OH free radicals are also known as environmental detergents. They react with each and every organic molecule. Okay, there are some exceptions. Leaving those, it reacts with most of the VOCs. The commonly used photocatalysts are TiO2 and zinc oxide, because they have got the band gap 3.2 electron volt. 3.2 electron volt. Okay, so that OH radicals produced by this technique, they react with organic compounds to produce degraded products. So the degraded products may be complete degradation may take place, that lead to carbon dioxide and water, or partial degradation may take place. So what is the mechanism behind this? Mechanism of photocatalysis. This is TiO2 nanoparticle. It's a semiconductor nanoparticle. We know its band gap is 3.2 electron volt. When light of energy greater than 3.2 electron volt falls on this semiconductor, TiO2 semiconductor, what happens? Electron from valence band jumps to conduction band. Electron from valence band jumps to conduction band. Okay. So here hole is produced in the valence band. Electrons are pumped to conduction band. The holes produced in the valence band, they react with water to form OH radicals. These OH radicals react with pollutants to give the degraded products. Maybe complete degradation means carbon dioxide and water, and partial degraded product may also be formed. This happens in the valence band. What happens in the conduction band? Conduction band, electrons are taken up by oxygen molecules present in water, dissolved oxygen. So that forms superoxide anion. That superoxide anion reacts with the water, forming hydrogen peroxide. Finally, it forms OH radicals. These OH radicals again react with the pollutants and they form degraded products. See, OH radicals are produced in valence band as well as conduction band as well as valence band. Okay. So these OH radicals, they degrade the organic matter present in water. Thus it cleans the water completely. So this is the method of photocatalysis. Okay. Thank you for watching this video.